So you think we're ready to go?
Thought we had to wait a few seconds.
Okay.
Ready.
You're listening to the EdReach Network, right? Welcome to the Google Educast, presented by the EdReach Network, giving educators a voice, a big voice. You've reached episode 72 for November 15th, 2012. This is the show where we talk about educational applications for Google products, including news, tools, tips and tricks, and classroom applications. I'll be your host, and this week we have an awesome group, starting with
Fred Delventhal.
And Juan de Luca.
Beautiful, and good to see you guys.
Good to see you.
Yeah, likewise.
Let's see, this is kind of new. EdReach appreciates your supports. One of the ways you can continue to support us is by rating us on iTunes. If you go to the edreach.us/network and find your favorite shows, or for this show, simply go to our channel page at edreach.us/channel/Google Educast and click on the iTunes link. A little iTunes love goes a long way. So, thanks for your support. So, segment one, what's new with Google? And first question we have is, what do you think of the new layout of Google Search? That came up in the GCT group earlier this week, and there was some bantering about. What did you guys think?
Well, I like the fact that you can search by size, by emails larger than a certain size, or older than a few months or a year. So that's kind of neat. Easier to find your stuff.
When I put this in, I was talking about the Google search page itself.
Oh, you're right.
And now they've taken away the left sidebar, which a lot of us have been teaching for a long time.
Yeah.
And now we have up at the top, it's web, images is all up there, and then you have this more button if you want to do more, or then you have the search tools, and that gives you where anytime and stuff. So it's not really any more clicks, it's just laid out differently. And same thing with the images. If you go to the images and then if you want to do the search tools for search by color or anything like that, then it shows that's where you can do the color and do that kind of stuff. So it's just laid out differently, and I was wondering, what do you think? I've heard some complaints from people because people don't like change.
Right. Yeah, I think I jumped to the next section about the new update in Gmail. But yeah, I think it confused me at first because I didn't realize where things were. But it's just like if you're living in Google land, then you know that things are going to change from one day to the next, or from 1 hour to the next. And to me, they didn't add any features. Well, I haven't found any new features. But it's elegant. It looks nice. I don't
It
mind
added
it.
more white space to the search screen, which is kind of cool. And
Yeah.
it took a little while to discover, like you were saying, all those tools are there and they're nested, which is kind of cool. But
And if you think about it, they were nested before, though, because you'd have to click on the More button for those options to show up anyway.
Yeah.
but it makes sense because it's more like Gmail now, where links and stuff aren't there until you need to use them.
Mm-hmm.
And when you need to go to something, you mouse over it, and that's when the tool or the drop down or whatever appears. So, I mean, it makes sense to do it. It's just kind of shocking that it's like one day you go to your search page and it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Now, do you see it everywhere you go, or I mean, when I first started to see it, I would see it on one computer using Chrome, and then I'd switch over to Firefox and it wouldn't be there. And then I'd come home and on Chrome it wouldn't be there, but then in Firefox it would be. And now I think it's pretty consistent across all my things. It's sort of their whole rollout, however that goes, or as the cache gets older or something like that. Do you see it everywhere?
Not at all at the same time. Never.
I now see it everywhere, but I think you posted something in Google Plus maybe a couple weeks ago or a week ago, saying that the layout had changed, or somebody
Yeah.
did. I think it was.
But when it did, I took a screenshot right away because I didn't know what was going on.
How long is this going to last?
Huh?
You didn't know how long is this going to last?
Right, exactly, because things could change just like the black toolbar and stuff too.
Right. So I just thought, I mean, Fred always gets things early. We all we all know that.
We all know that about him.
So yeah, I know, and I guess it makes sense, the order from top to bottom, that you search for something, and then you decide if you want to filter, and then you get your search results instead of up, left, right. Now it's from the top to the bottom. I guess it makes some sense. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
So there's also some new ways to get stuff done in Drive. And Fred, did you drop that in?
Yeah, this is sort of a aggregated post because they've been rolling some of this stuff out as they went along, and I didn't know this really. I mean, for some of my teachers that have switched to Drive now, and they lost a lot of the documents that had been shared with them. This first thing, search by person, is definitely going to help them out because if you can't remember the name of the file or any of the words that are in it, but you remember the name of the person that sent it to you or shared it with you, you can search by that name, and then the documents will be able to come up that way.
Hey, Fred.
Also, yep.
I've got a question. I don't know how much you played around with that, but if I'm working in a group and let's say that 3 of us are working on a project and I can't remember whether it was you or Juan that shared it with me, but it was shared with all 3 of us, could I look it up by either one of your names?
I do not know. We may have to try that out.
That'd be kind of cool. I mean, you should be able to because Juan's name would be attached to it as well, right? It'd be
Right.
using tags, basically, but...
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
If you take it literally, it says can't remember the name of the file, but you know who shared it with you. Now Drive can search autocompletes people's names, making it easier to find the stuff you're looking for. So if you take it literally, it's only the person who shared it with you, apparently. But I think we should try it out.
Yeah. Another thing that they added was you can view Google Earth map files now. You can preview those and work with them, interact with them a little bit with KML and KMZ files. You can now create new folders in the window that you are organizing with. So that was something new. I know a couple times I wanted to organize something. I went in and remembered, oh no, I have to create the folder first. So I backed out, created the folder, then it showed up in the thing. Now you can do that right within the organization window, so that's cool. And then we talked about this a few weeks ago where they added, you could almost always upload files individually or as a group of dragging and dropping files into the Chrome window to upload them to Drive, but you can now upload a whole folder. Just drag the folder over to the Chrome window and it'll upload to your Drive. And search includes your trash.
Yeah.
So.
And I just did a quick test, and it only searches the owner.
Okay.
So if you remember who the owner is. Not all the contributors or editors. Yeah.
That's too bad because that'd be kind of nice because a lot of times working on group projects, I can't remember who created it, but shared it with everybody. So
Right.
maybe in the
Might
future,
be.
right?
For sure. Yeah. Okay.
Next, looking for ways to make it faster and easier for you to find your messages using search in Gmail. So starting today, which I think was actually yesterday, you can now search emails by size, more flexible date options, exact match, and more.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find where that post is. But
Um,
you were
I,
talking about that earlier, so
yeah. Okay, so I'll share. Yeah. Okay. Can you see my screen?
yeah,
Sure
perfect.
do.
Okay. I haven't tried it out yet, but there's some very simple ways to search uh, for an email depending on the size of an attachment or based on date. So sometimes if you're looking for very old emails, you have to go back and back and back a few times. But now if you only want to look for an email that you know they sent you over a year ago, then you type older than 1 year ago. So I don't know if you probably have to learn these, but sort of like the file type and all those. But it's
Yeah,
good to have them. Hmm.
when I first saw that, I was thinking, um, just the operators don't necessarily follow what I'm used to, it seems. I was trying to think about, okay, if I normally want to search for a file that's larger than something else, it,
Hmm.
it size colon 5 megabytes or 5M. I mean, it's not even 5 MB, which I would normally think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just by doing that, it searches for anything greater than that. But we have a greater than symbol. Is it that they don't think that people understand which way the greater than should work, or that it only works one way? You can't find all the files smaller than 5 megabytes, and I don't know why anybody would want to search for that. But it just seems like the operators are kind of obscure.
That's true. And along those same lines, when I saw it, I was thinking that, like, really for most people, it trying to learn like file greater colon underscore greater than 5M, and
Yeah.
when right there you've got, like, you can go in and from the pull down menu fill in all those operators basically from a form, which
Yeah.
I'll be honest, that's the way I'd do it. I want to be like, let's see, if I create this query using,
Yeah.
so, but I don't know. I mean, it's good to have it there, but I don't know how much use the average user is going to get out of it.
Yeah. You can search for emails that have attachment, but not necessarily based on the size. So, but maybe, like you said, those operators could be there. Maybe there could be some basic search and then some pull out for more advanced search, like has attachment, but something underneath, attachments between 1 and 5 megabytes or whatever.
That'd be kind of nice. Have like radio buttons that you could click,
Yeah.
and then Fred, that'd be the same, like kind of like what you were saying, 1 to 5, 5 to 10.
Right.
Hmm. Okay.
So, have either of you heard about the Healthy Buildings Initiative?
Just from the show notes.
Yeah, well, I kind of preach that Google doesn't do enough to tout when they're doing good stuff, and I think this is one of the cases. So they awarded a $3 million grant to the Green Building Council here in the United States. So basically, the premise is, you know how like everything is labeled on the side of a can of raviolis or whatever you buy at the store.
Mhm.
your bag of Fritos or whatever. Well, taking that idea and applying it to buildings and kind of being clear about what materials were used to construct it, what milled materials are in it, and kind of moving towards that green council idea of like, let's make buildings healthy so that we have healthier people and all of that, healthier environment.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess nationwide, a $3 million grant isn't going to go that far, but I think it's definitely a step in the right direction and a cool thing to do. I mean, I think they're taking the lead on this, and that should be recognized.
I get it. Lead.
Oh, you're the man. I wasn't sure. But so I like to plug when Google does good. So that's my pitch for tonight.
Fair enough. Yeah. So I mean, like you said, 3 million doesn't sound like much, but it's not going towards building.
Yeah, it's going towards awareness.
Exactly, and making like standards that people can understand and follow for those buildings. So
and it's definitely a start. So I mean, it's all good.
Well, and that's the organization that helps buildings figure out what they can do to be better at being greener. So I think since they're a nonprofit, every little bit seems to help, and so it allows them to reach out to more architects and so on to ask for their resources or help in terms of those businesses that are building a new building and are designing. They want to design with the environment in mind. So more power to them and more money from Google. So
all good.
Yep.
Well, speaking of good things from Google, I think Juan actually beat both of us, Fred, to the announcement today of Google Plus for K-12 app schools.
Yeah, I put it in the show notes. I think it's a very big deal. We've been waiting for this for a long time, and suddenly it just hits us because some of us were expecting it before, or we were hearing some tentative release dates, and then I just sort of like maybe forgot about it a bit, trying to find workarounds and other things teachers could be doing, and suddenly it hits you, and I don't know what to do now. But it's amazing. It's awesome.
It's huge. I mean, and it's kind of interesting because my experience with it today was I was talking to somebody and I was like, dude, can you believe this? And they're like, isn't that, the social network? And I'm like, well, yeah, there is that aspect of it, but that's cool for kids. But I was thinking even larger, there's this opportunity for students to be having hangouts like we are and collaborating and sharing docs and doing all the great things that we do every week. It's just another avenue, right? I mean, I've been kind of running one of my university classes at using Google Plus almost basically as an LMS with minus a grading or a grade book, but just dabbling with that. So like thinking about unleashing that on younger students and being able to foster collaboration and all that stuff. What do you think, Fred? Are you sold on it, or are you worried about it, or?
Well, they say it's Google Plus for K-12, and tell me if you've ever seen a 13-year-old kindergartner.
No.
Right. So it's really Google Plus for what, 9th, 8th graders on up, because do they still have the limitation that you have to be 13 plus in order to get on Google Plus?
Well, they should be 13 plus to have an email account, but with Google Apps, they can start using email earlier than that, depending on when you turn it on for your domain, for your users.
I'm talking about Google Plus. Do the same rules apply? I mean, you know, I look at it. I'm in an elementary school, and everybody's going, "Oh wow, Google Plus, Google Plus," and I'm like, "Wah, wah, no Google Plus for us." So,
Well, I think that's the domain administrator's decision. I mean, that's where I was going with that because just as the domain administrator takes on responsibility for email accounts and stuff, why wouldn't that hold true for Google Plus?
well, since it's a premium, you have the terms of service for almost each one of the premium services. It doesn't necessarily. I mean, Google passes it on to the school district to abide by whatever laws and stuff. But I wonder, can we turn this on? And again, they're only able to talk with people in our domain. But does that mean that we have to sort of come up with a new configuration so that we don't? I mean, I guess I'm jumping to the bad conclusion
Sure, and that's
of,
why you've got the job you've got.
well, I mean, of high school students having a hangout and having a second grader stumble into it because they see, oh, a hangout started
Well,
here at this high school.
and I see what you're saying, and I get it, but I think there's also whenever somebody who's not in your circles joins the hangout, you get a big fat warning about it,
Okay.
and you
If
decide.
that, well, no, I mean, I'm asking you guys. You guys are my experts that I go to, so.
Well, I don't think anyone's an expert because they just announced this like five
Right.
hours.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's going to be like another service that you can put kids under a sub organization and enable it for those over 13 and turn it off. Well, it's going to be off
And I haven't
by default.
and I haven't looked at it in the dashboard to see like how granular it is. Can you turn on, Google Plus as the social side of it for, this user group and turn on Plus with Hangouts for this user group and, like how much control you have over it. So I don't know. I mean, with this whole conversation could be for not,
Right.
but
And again, a lot of our stuff, because they have it so locked down where I am, people, nobody can share outside of our domain. So it's not like I would ever see our kids being able to do a hangout with kids in a school in Mexico City.
But
Yeah.
can you see the value
mean-
of how cool it would be for your third grade kids to be having a hangout with other third grade kids that are in the same class, or maybe
Yeah.
in the other third grade class, but it's a grade level as part of your, RTI or your PLC or whatever alphabet soup you want to choose. That everybody's doing the same project, so that these kids can collaborate outside of school and hang out, but they're still all in the same domain, right?
All right. I mean, I see that with the kids being out of school, but our school's so small. Get up and walk over next to the next door classroom. Don't go and use this
And
just.
that would be just awesome, fantastic 19th century Little House on the Prairie skills.
Oh, stop! But I seriously,
Walk over to the bar
if
next
they're
door.
if they're hanging out with the kids in the classroom next door, they can wait until recess or something like that. So, now maybe other schools in the district or something, but even then, I would much rather have our kids interacting with students at in a different state even, and then just within the same kind of. I want them to learn something new, and not rehash everything that
Well, so how
everybody
are you-
does in our state.
This is my last little poke, and then I'm gonna. leave you be. But so how are our second and third graders going to learn how to behave in a hangout and how to deal with students from somewhere else in the state or somewhere else in the country or Mexico City or something? When do they just suddenly get that knowledge when they turn 13? I mean, like when the kids turn 18, you throw them the car keys and say, "Good luck, buddy." I mean, what? You got to start somewhere, right?
But see, then this is my thing of, I would much rather teach them in a real world sense of hanging out with another classroom, not in our school, but in Oregon, in Mexico City, in Germany, or something like
hang out
that.
with your kids.
What?
The state of Oregon, I will find a teacher to hang out with your students.
Yeah, but we don't have
Me
Google.
too.
We will probably not get Google Hangouts for or Google Plus for our kids anytime soon. So that's the problem. But and we don't have a test track where every parent can go and take their kids and teach them how to cross the street. I mean, there isn't a walled off place that, okay, now we're going to wait for the fake car to go by and then do that. They do it in the real world. And why do we have to create these walled gardens, to use the catchphrase or the buzzword, with technology and email and all these other things where they're emailing the person that they just saw out at recess?
Fair enough. But to wrap this up on a bright note that I think we can all agree on.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice that now we can have 15 people in a hangout instead of 10.
Yeah.
Did you just catch that part of the update?
Yeah.
So
now, is that across the board or just in the Google Plus for education and
Across
business?
the board.
I think it was across the board because they announced it on the Enterprise blog.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
So I have a higher ed domain if you want to see how it looks from a domain side. I'm sure it looks now the same in a K-12. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so
Why don't you have Google Wallet turned on?
I think, I don't know if it works outside of the US, but I have most services on, the ones I can, and this is Google Plus. So you can turn it off. It'll be off by default. You can turn it on, and then you have the choice for configure premium features. And if you click that, it'll take you here. And this is where users can restrict sharing of posts within the domain. If they're restricted by default, you can control whether Hangouts on air are allowed. So, and here are more questions and answers. So with the premium, and now for free it'll be for free to the end of 2013. So you can try it out for at least a year. We don't know if it's going to continue being free for education after that. But yes, you can restrict Hangouts to your organization only. So that'll solve most of the problems. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, Fred, tell me about Meograph.
Okay. This also came up in one of the discussions, I guess, and somebody was looking at how to do a timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And then our own Diane Main answered back, well, what about doing a tour in Google Earth? It would be geography-based or whatever. And that reminded me of Meograph, which I had seen several weeks ago. And Meograph, let me switch back here and...
So for people watching that can't see it, it's kind of funny because all of our cursors are on the same link right now in the show notes.
So Meograph lets you create stories that are based on Google Earth. And so if you were telling your life story, you could say, I was born on this date in this town, and then when I was 3 on this date, we moved, in this year, we moved to this city, and this is where I got my first kiss, and then this is where I went to college. I mean, you can just create stories and it will jump around the globe. And for each pinpoint that you put on the map, you can add pictures, you can add a YouTube video or anything. And, this was my favorite song in high school, that kind of stuff. So it's just a neat way to create sort of a story or a timeline using Google Earth.
That is really cool.
So, and so we will put a link in there in our show notes.
That's really cool.
I missed it. Okay. I'll have to click on the link later.
It'll be in the show notes.
Okay.
Now it's time for discussion. So you could probably, if you can multitask, look that up and discuss at the same time. But the discussion is if Google Instant Search is slowing people down. So how would Instant Search slow you down? I guess we got to define our terms first, right?
Right. Instant Search is, if you're using Chrome, it could be the Omnibox where you start to type and it will start offering you suggestions, or if you're on the Google search page and you're typing in your search terms and it will start dropping down a list of most commonly searched for combinations for you so that you could easily select one of those and click them. And
so that's all good.
Right. I think that that's great when you want to use it, but what I find in working with people and trying to teach them some things, I will tell people specific things to type into their address bar or into the Google search box, and they will type 2 or 3 letters and only have, or they'll start typing the word that I'll tell them. They'll only have a couple more letters to type, but then they'll stop. And their hand will go to their mouse, and then they'll start looking in the list to find what they're going to click on to finish those last 2 letters. And
don't
that,
they know
to me,
you're
just
a certified search expert and they should just listen to you?
Well, I mean, it's not just about searching, it's about even addresses now and stuff. It seems to be infiltrating just what common sense. I don't know if that's too strong of a word to use, that if you just have a little bit more to type, just continue typing it, and you'll have it, and you'll be that much faster on your way. So what do you guys think? Do you see this same thing happening, or am I the only one?
I think you struck on something there where a lot of people don't realize. It's like explaining keystrokes or keyboard shortcuts, where you're like, if you do it this way, use this keyboard shortcut, you don't have to reach over and grab the mouse and click. And people who don't spend as much time at a keyboard as we do, I guess, don't really see that as a benefit. They're like, well, it only takes a second. Dude, that's a second. You could be doing something better.
Yeah. I feel like some people see the list, and if they're searching for something that's not on the list, their search is not valid for some reason. And I've seen it in other places. So it's like they're searching, and these are the options you can search for. Don't try to search for anything else. And I think some people think like that those are the options, so they have to wait for one of the options to come out.
Or start backspacing because their option isn't there. So
yeah. So it is making them slower.
And I think another thing that's been happening to me is I don't. Like when I want to stop short of what the predictive text comes up with, because I only want to search the first 3 words of a 4-word term that the predictive text has, come up with, and I press enter, I get the results for the full 4 words, even though I didn't type that last word in.
Yeah, I get the same thing, and it's frustrating. Or it will randomly choose something in the drop-down list
Yeah.
where wasn't even anywhere near that with the cursor, and a totally different word that it thought I meant came up, not misspelled or anything. It was just it. So I mean, it's
But
quirky,
go ahead.
but what I mean, any suggestions as to of educating people, or I don't want to say change them. How do we change them? But how do you change them?
Well, I think you go with your first idea is by educating them and say, you know what, it's hold on a second. What, and I think that's something as teachers we all know is good is to say, you know what, stop the lesson right here and let's talk about what's going on.
A teachable moment. Yeah.
But then when it comes to practice, I know I'm guilty of being like, I'm in the middle of the thing and we've got 15 minutes left and we're doing it and we're going and so that teachable moment may not happen today and it may not happen tomorrow or whatever, but I think it's worthy to stop and say, okay, you know what, this is what I saw, this is why I think it happened, let's talk about it and let's talk about a better way of doing things. And you definitely have the knowledge, Fred, where you can say like, look, this is, it's demonstrable that this is going to be a better way of doing things, and here's my reasoning, and here's my rationale, and if you choose to keep doing it your way, there's nothing I can do, but let's talk about it, and let me try and help you and educate you, and then we'll, and then from there, it's kind of up to them.
Yeah.
Is my take on things. If I stop everything and explain and give you cause, and you still don't want to do it, then
Can't help you there.
Yeah, but I tried. So
It's like what was it? The number one thing that people search for on Google is how to get to Google.
Yeah, they
And
search for
that
the
must-
word Google.
How much that must drive them crazy at Google as to how do we stop people from just doing that, and teaching them about the Omnibox
well,
on Chrome.
I was in a workshop earlier this week where some people were typing and they were really good. They were typing directly into the Omnibox, but they were typing this like HTTP. I'm like, you don't have to do that anymore. Just like skip all that stuff and get to the good stuff and start typing there. And they're like, no, you got to type this, dude.
Well, and that gets back to even we have a very memorable easy map the whole universe.
What are they?
And so if you go to it, you can, up in the upper left-hand corner, I didn't see this right away, but there's a tour, and it tells you a little bit about. And so it's really nice because it starts off giving you a sense of where everything was. It would take 18 years for a jet plane to reach the sun from Earth.
Did you guys hear that? That was like third grade teachers everywhere being really excited.
So it's just a really kind of amazing way to show the universe and give a sort of a aspect of scale. And let me stop the tour real quick. And so it on any of the stars that are in the universe or whatever that are near like Sirius, you can click on it and it will zoom in. Well, it didn't that time.
Is that where you get your satellite radio from?
If we zoom back in and click on Sirius,
You get Street View, right?
wow, I guess it doesn't like me broadcasting it and trying to show it at the same time. But when you do that on any of the galaxies
it looked like there was a little encyclopedia entry that showed up on the left for just
right. And it will show that. It will show you the star and then give you the information about it. So it's just a really neat, informative thing. And then on the right-hand side, you do have the familiar slider bar that you can
Zoom in and out.
zoom in and zoom out of the galaxy, that kind of thing. So
Wow.
let's see.
Pretty awesome.
And
Yeah.
you can even drag to rotate it so that you can, I mean, since it doesn't really have an up or a down, but so if you teach astronomy or space or anything like that, it's a great tool to bring into the classroom and either go through a tour or have the kids explore.
That's very cool. And to follow up on Juan's question, when is Street View coming?
I would guess next year.
Yeah. It's really it is awesome. You're using a Mac, right? Because
Correct.
I mean, it looked very, very smooth. And
But
so
it works really well in Chrome. I did not try it in any of the other browsers or anything, but I would think that if it's HTML5, then it would work in Firefox as well.
yeah, very nice.
So speaking of Chrome and Macs and all that, they are starting to play nice with Chrome and Flash. I don't know how much.
Get out!
I know. Crazy, right? Like, finally. So, this brief post, which was, I mean, it's, 300 words maybe. But even though they're explaining how, even though Adobe Flash is used everywhere, it's also commonly used as a vector for malware, which is why Chrome has been kind of the anti-Flash. But, and I didn't know this, the last couple of years Google's been working with Adobe to kind of figure out how to take the best of Flash and let it work so that in the Chrome browser there can still be that security layer, but all the goodness of Flash Player. So I was ridiculously happy to see this when it was posted yesterday, or day before.
Yeah. So it says that it runs inside a sandbox inside Chrome. So that makes it more secure, and it says it's coming to Windows and Linux later on. I
didn't read that far down. I was like,
no, but I know it's saying that it's everywhere now. I think I think Mac was the last one to get it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of a small thing, but kind of a large thing too, because I mean, like, everything runs Flash, and having it stall out when you're using Chrome was just incredibly frustrating. So I'm looking forward to enjoying that that they finally figured it out and things are playing together nicely.
Yep.
Good.
And so that brings us to segment 4, the classroom application, which is our fellow Google certified teacher, John Miller. This was posted, and I feel kind of bad about it because this was posted back in October and somehow I didn't even notice it. If you don't know John, he does a lot of really great things with his kids, and he's had them blogging and doing all kinds of good stuff in his classroom for years. And actually, if you want to get your students blogging, he has a great boot camp. I think it's right there, the blogging boot camp up here, where he has basically the lesson plans for the first couple of weeks of school to like how to structure them so that you can get your kids blogging and doing these great things. But I thought this was a pretty cool idea. Google Drawing. Do you guys use Drawing much?
I did. I actually used it today. I needed to draw out a diagram how tables were supposed to be set up for a meeting for the custodians because it was going to be a new setup, and so the easiest way for me to do a diagram of how the table should be set up was Google Drawing. And
Yeah,
so,
drawing's pretty powerful, and it's kind of, for me at least, kind of underused. But for this part of the year, John's having the kids. They're researching medieval history. So he had the students work on 3 unique sandwiches that they described in their blog post. But they used Google Drawing to create an illustration to go along with their description of the sandwich and the construction process. And I just thought, unfortunately, it looks like Flash and my version of Chrome aren't playing well together right now.
did you click on the title of the post?
Yeah, that does it.
Oh, that does do it. Awesome. So, thanks, Fred. So, you can see that the students were, I mean, this is a pretty rich process that they're going through. They're using their blogging, their descriptive writing, their diagramming. I mean, it's pretty awesome. And all of these, again, with free tools that he's pulling off the internet through Google. And
Excellent.
I just thought I was like, that's pretty awesome. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
Now, what grade does he teach? 7th grade. Okay.
No, he's like 4th or 5th. I'm not sure. I thought.
Okay.
Really? And everything was done in drawing?
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
really cool.
Yeah.
So isn't that pretty awesome? The carne asada sandwich there.
Getting hungry.
Daisy's yummy sandwich.
And it's interesting to see the different ways that each student approached it, too.
Yeah.
It wasn't so strict. It was sort of open-ended to letting them figure out what to do. So
Yeah, how they wanted to build it, and I found this today, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. We need to get some recognition.
Yeah. Very nice.
So, and we're coming to the end of the show, which is for shout-outs and feedback, and the only shout-outs I have is from Fred Delventhal.
oh, you guys didn't know.
And if you're not familiar with Movember, there's a link in the show. So maybe, Fred, you could explain that caterpillar on your lip.
Movember is where men grow facial hair that normally don't have facial hair to bring attention to cancers that normally afflict men. And
November
some
is
people use it.
or Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, or
Yep, and that men also get breast cancer and so on. So some guys will use it as a fundraiser. I'm not sure quite how that works, like how long, 10 cents an inch or something. I'm not sure. But and then that's when all the beard and mustache competitions heat up and so on. So I decided that I would, since I've had a beard and goatee before for a while, I haven't had a mustache since I think I was 21 or 22. So
a couple of years ago.
Yeah. And so I grew it, and all these people at work, even though we have other men in our building and they have beards and mustaches, it seems like everybody seems to be noticing mine, and they've never heard of Movember. So I guess it's working. It's doing it. It's bringing attention to it. So moving on.
very good. So that'll do it for this week on the Google Educast. Big thanks to the crew, Juan and Fred. And of course, you can find the usual gang of suspects on Twitter. Fred, where do we find you?
You can find me on Google+. I am plus Fred Delventhal.
The only one with a vanity URL.
Yeah.
Juan, where can we find you?
Just Google me.
At Wanda Luca. Very nice.
Sure. Well, Twitter is at Mr. Wandaluca and Wandaluca on Google Plus. Yeah.
Very good. And I'm at Shawnee on Twitter, and that's or gplus.to/Shawnee, and you'll get to my Google Plus page that way as well. Then hey, why not follow at EdReachUs on Twitter as well, and do make sure to subscribe to the EdReach weekly newsletter and pass it on. You can do that at edreach.us/newsletter. These are great ways to get the latest blog posts, podcasts, and news coming out of the EdReach network. Thanks again for joining us. Continue the conversation at the EdReach network, and we'll see you next week.
See you.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, everybody.